So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to frame the opportunity. We're clearly going to define the right problem or opportunity. So as Charles Kettering, who is the founder of Delco and the head of research at General Motors, he said that a well-stated problem is half solved. Wonderful quote. Definitely need to use that in your own presentations. Again, if we don't understand what the user needs, we're not going to be able to solve for it. So identifying that specific opportunity or problem is the single most important factor of success. If you address the wrong one, you're not giving the users what they need. So when you frame the opportunity, we think about design being intentional and we have to solve a specific problem or business opportunity. Successful solutions achieve these goals. So the first thing we need to do is we need to meet the unique needs of our specific person. Who's the primary user? What should we know about them? Next, we need to focus on that specific opportunity or business problem. What is the core problem? What's the pain point we're trying to solve? And then we're going to measure in an exact way. Now, this is very important. Are we measuring revenue, time, steps to completion, like we're reducing the number of steps? How is success measured by your users? It doesn't matter as much what the business says is success. It's really what do the users say is success? And then how does the company measure success? We call this a who, a what, and a wow. So to get to that, we need to really define our problem. We use the 2-minute readout as a very, very fast elevator pitch that helps us get to what is it that we have to solve for? What do we think this is about? And let's get this validated with our group. So we start out with our project is called. We just give it a name, like a project name to start it out. And it's kind of like this part is an analogy. It's sort of like um, how do I play digital golf? It's kind of like how do we put things together that aren't usually together? What is this thing we're going to do that is new, that is innovative? Who's the person or group who uses it? Currently, they struggle because what's the pain point? What do they can what can they not do right now? In a perfect world, they would be able to. Would they be able to do this activity remotely? Would they be able to do this in half the time? And this would be awesome because how does it affect their job? How does it affect their way of working? Um, so here's an example from Sabre. Our project is called Retail Studio. It's kind of like one-stop shopping at a hotel. The person or group who uses it are hotel guests. Currently, they struggle because they must go to multiple sites for tickets. They're on a vacation. They're having to go to all these different places to enjoy the city they're in. In a perfect world, they'd be able to use Sabre Hospitality Group's tools, and this would be awesome because hotel guests can find everything in one place. So can you all see how quickly this communicates a problem and solution and what the end user experiences?
Bill, we have a
Brian, would you like to?
question from
Oh, yes,
Piyush.
please. Yes, please.
Take it away. Come off
Yeah,
mute and ask your question, please. See, might have been
might have been a
Bill
reaction.
raised. They might have raised their hand. Okay, yeah,
Okay.
take it away, Bill.
Okay, great. So this is an example that you guys can use to understand how quickly we can define a problem, and who we're solving for. It's as Brian calls it, an elevator pitch for one floor. It's just like, boom, I communicate my goal that quickly. We're also going to give you a product definition worksheet, a document to work with your team to understand and define the information related to the problem you're trying to solve. The 2-minute readout is that super quick elevator pitch. The product definition sheet is going into detail. Let's really understand what all the supporting elements are that help us understand the problem we're trying to solve for. So, um, we use it to frame the opportunity. We go a little bit deeper. We do it before the workshop, review and capture relevant information and insights. And it really may take 60 to 90 minutes because we're really trying to get everybody's input in your group in this one pager. And it is very quick. Brian, I think, gave you the link to it, which is awesome. Thank you, Brian. So the overview is it includes a background summary. It includes a project overview, defines the problem or opportunity, goes into more detail. What are the business or user metrics? Do we have customer insights we can put in here? Do we have key user tasks that we can identify? Are there features and functions that we need to be thinking about? Is there competitive differentiation between us and our main competitors? What are the requirements of the project? Who all is included in the project team? And what is that high level timeline? So, in the design world, we might also call this a design brief. It's just give me a 1-page quick overview of what we know about this project and when it's due. Brian, do you want to add anything to this?
It's really just getting, I think another word for strategy is alignment. And what you can see again, these are the starting point where it framed the opportunity. And when you looked at the double diamond overlaid on top of the design strategy framework, this is the very first tip. This is just making sure that before we do the convergent thinking by understanding the users and exploring, issues and options where we do we converge that or diverge and then converge. This is the starting point. Now, the starting point can shift and change as people have these discussions. Again, these documents are not written in stone. They're just meant for you to ask an initial set of questions. And we've tested these over time. And it turns out that what we're sharing with you is really over the last, what is it, since 2018, we've done both of these approaches. And typically, the 2-minute readout should be done before the worksheet because you got to align on that high level elevator pitch. And again, imagine it's one floor. You get a key person, a key client, the CEO. You have one floor in the elevator to say, "Hey, um, I have an idea called blank. It's kind of like Swiggy for blah blah blah. The people that use it are this. Right now they struggle because of this. Hey, with my idea, they'd be able to do this. It'd be awesome for Sabre because." Then the executive is going to say, "Hey, that sounds good. Dig a little deeper." Well, guess what? That's where the product definition worksheet comes into hand. So we're going to assume that the key stakeholder in your elevator pitch is going to say, one, tell me more. Two, who have you talked to? They probably just don't say no. They'll direct you to someone to talk to. That's where this worksheet, this set of questions comes in handy. I think as interns, this becomes a really valuable tool for you. So because of that, we're going to give Bill a lot of thumbs up and a lot of hearts because we love Bill for sharing this information. So let's give him some hearts. Look at that, Bill. They're the greatest. Good
Yes,
job,
and
Bill. Sitting
big thank you
ovation.
to
They just love
Brian
you.
for sharing all this. So yes.
All right. And
So
then case study. This my slide, right?
yes,
So case
sir.
study. So again, remember earlier where I talked about we had all of these global teams. We're reimagining IROPS and loyalty. Well, one of the first things that I did is I got together with one of my other design strategists and a user researcher, and we talked to some internal stakeholders, which would be the account directors, some of the sales support team, call center agents and airport agents, both internal and at some of these particular airlines. And with that, we were able to go to the next slide. Use a different tool in the session. We had that initial 2-minute readout, one for IROPS, one for loyalty. We quickly validated that. Then another tool that we use is called What's on Your Radar. You might think of this as, hey, what are you going to do in the next year, the next 2 to 3, and then kind of what's in the far future at a high level, right? So this is kind of a way to gauge the immediate needs of the customers at a high level going into this particular session. So with loyalty, you can see the issues that they had, irregular operations, again, a weather event, or the tire has to change. Here is some of the top issues that they wanted resolved in the first year, or for the next 12 months. So interns, because Bill and I are college teachers, you have homework, which is on the next slide. So, Bill, why don't you tell them their homework?
You bet. You guys are going to get with your teams during your breaks. You're going to review your team's product challenge and try to get that initial alignment with which document? The 2-minute readout, right? Describe your product challenge. And then you're going to use the product definition worksheet to really plan the project and go a little bit deeper. So, are we all clear? Hand claps and thumbs up and all that. Oh, questions. Yes, please. Or are those reactions? Plus ones.
Excuse me, sir. My name is Chirag.
Oh, yeah, please ask.
Actually, as mentioned before the break, initially we'll have a problem, and accordingly we will do brainstorming and group discussion and come up with lots of ideas. Like, how do we filter out the best ideas among them? Suppose if there are some 40 to 50 ideas, how do we come to a single point?
We're definitely going to get to that. We will get to that. Again, this is a natural thing that happens. I think people are very curious about solutioning. So, okay, we're going to brainstorm. I get that. And then how do we prioritize that? The tendency that people tend to do is they jump to that. And what you may end up having is you may have misidentified a problem slash opportunity. And if we take just a moment to explore it a little bit further, again, draw a vase versus a new way of experiencing flowers in your home. Again, we're not asking you to take a long time here. We're just asking you, hey, here's some tools. Let's just spend a little bit of time doing that. We haven't really done what I would call problem or opportunity identification. Again, the what, the who, the what, and the wow. What you're describing is the how. How are we going to solve it? How are we going to do that? And that does not necessarily create a lot of value for customers a lot of time. So again, we'll show you some of those methods. There is a natural tendency to jump to that, and it's good that I'm glad that you're curious on it. We will get to that. Okay.
Okay,
So,
we have another hand raised, Anushka.
yep.
Do you want to come up? Oh, yeah.
Yes. Hi, Bill. Hi, Bran. This is Anushka. Referring to the 2-minute readout, I
Mhm.
wanted to ask what are the major factors that we need to consider while we were talking about a perfect world there?
Yeah, that's a really great comment. So when you start to think about a perfect world, I think that what is the value that you're going to bring to the customer, right? And you can look at that in a couple of different ways. So primarily, the ways that you add value is you take something that is really good for the customer and you make it awesome, right? So if it's an average or a high point, you make it awesome. If it's something that is a low point, you try to, make that higher. So you try to eliminate pain points and then you try to elevate um, things that are going good inside of the journey map, which we will get to today. The other thing that you want to do is have some type of a metric that is measurable for wherever you're trying to add value. So is it reduced clicks? Is it increased adoption rates? So that's what we're trying to look for. So when we do that, in a perfect world, they'd be able to do this, and it would be awesome. The awesome part, the who, the what, and the wow. The wow is the hardest thing. So I'm glad that you were able to notice that, because and we have examples a little bit later today where we show you the wow statements that some of our customers wrote. The nice thing about a wow is your customers are literally, if your customers write them, they're literally telling you how to sell the product to them. And then if you can deliver on that, which is a how, right? How do you do that? The product basically sells itself. Okay. Manika, I think, has a question, Bill.
Yes.
So, so as you were talking about the matrix of the design, so it like sparked a curiosity, like whether like design matrices, like conventional design matrices,
Okay.
like Taguchi, and we also like have the Q plot, Petro plot. Are they relevant to the design thinking thing?
I got a little bit of an echo there. Could I ask you to rephrase or just say it again?
So am I audible?
That sounds better. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so like I was saying, like while you were talking on the design matrix thing, so like
Mhm.
we like I studied a little bit on this topic, like the conventional design matrices, like Taguchi's laws principle and other strategic design. Are they like relevant to design thinking, or is it like a different thing altogether? Like all the
Yeah, there
cube
are.
plot, the Petro plot, the factorial design methods and everything.
Yeah, so I think that, and again, it's a good point. There's different flavors of design thinking, and they can be applied in a different context. So, Bill, we're going to do. There's a COP coming up on 3 lenses of design thinking, right?
Yes.
In February. So, what we'll do is we'll get with Joel, and I believe that Bill, you and I are going to be doing 3 lenses of design thinking. What we're going
Yes.
to do is talk about how you can apply design thinking in a couple of different ways. One is through product, another is through service, another is through um, what we call business design thinking, which is customer value propositions, business modeling, um, and then running rapid experiments. And you can organize your teams, you can organize the actual structure of a company to drive and build value. That would be business design thinking. One of the things that we also looked at, I think I'd mentioned earlier, is that we looked at Apple, which does a lot of industrial type design thinking. What does the object look like? Adobe has their form of design thinking. Tata, Capital One, um, who's the other? Oh, Texas Instruments, which is more of an engineering firm. We looked at all of these different versions and we tried to elevate it to such a level that it could be applied broadly. Then what we did is we put it into this framework. So if you've studied design thinking in some of these other, I'll call it a context, then you're going to be able to apply it using this approach. Okay, and then we have another one. Boy,
Yes.
that Anshta.
Yes,
Boy, did I
Anshita,
say that
yes. Hello,
right?
sir.
Did I
Yes,
say that right?
Anshita, it is.
Are you sure? Are you sure?
Yes, it is Anshita.
Okay, well, my grandma would
So
slap my hand if I did. My grandma would slap my hand if I didn't do it the right way. So take it away. What's your question?
Yes, I wanted to ask what are the parameters that are used to evaluate our product? Like, apart from the user expectations, is there anything else that we consider while evaluating the product that we've made?
Yeah, so also a great question. So some of the parameters is it technically feasible, right? Is it commercially viable? And is it desirable? We come from the UX perspective, so we tend to think about desirability a lot. So that's our perspective. We don't want to build anything and do a design thinking activity that isn't technically feasible. And again, earlier I'd mentioned when we have a whole lot of ideas, we usually do a feasibility analysis there. We'll have someone from the tech team evaluate it. When it comes out the other side, we'd like to have somebody from the commercial team ask ourselves, can we actually sell this? So again, viability from a commercial standpoint, feasible, right? Can we technically do this? And then desirable. How can we elevate it from a product/design perspective? So hopefully that, and these are all great questions. I'm going to say, Joel, you've got a great set of interns that continue to ask good questions. So is that Videep? I hope I said that right. Come off
Yeah,
mute.
hi
There you
Bill.
go.
Hi Brian, how are you?
Great. How are you?
I'm good too, thanks. So my question is, you mentioned there are three legs of design
Stool.
thinking,
Yeah.
including product design and tech. I understand
Mhm.
pretty well what design and tech, what the roles of design and tech are. Could you please elaborate a bit on what exactly do you mean by the product leg?
Yeah. So the product is going to be product managers and technical product managers. They interact a lot with the customers, right? And not just current customers, but prospective customers. And at Sabre, there's going to be people that focus more on the agency side. So someone like a Flight Center or an Amex Global Business Travel, Amex GBT. You have people that focus more on leisure. You'll have people that focus on distribution, fulfillment, payment. And so we do have what we would call product specialists that work deeply with the customers to try to understand their requirements, right? So product is working with customers, tech is writing code, design is building different types of screens. Bill has sent a message out. Let's hold the questions for a minute. These are great questions. We got to get through a couple of sections real quick and watch some videos. So take it away, Bill. Great
You
questions,
got
y'all.
it. Yes. Okay, so we went through the homework. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to understand the user. So how do they work? What do they want and need? We have this great quote by Scott Cook, who's the founder of Intuit. And he says, you can't walk a mile in someone else's shoes unless you take your own shoes off, which is pretty profound. Something to let marinate for a minute. But we really need to empathize with our users, and we can't just make assumptions like, oh, I know their pain. You really need to talk to them. You really need to understand. You need to visit them, watch them at work to really understand them. So to learn anything meaningful, you need to talk to people and observe them. The best data comes from people when they're performing a task, and they can explain their pain points better than anyone. So in understanding the user, when you want to learn about users, it's impossible to know anything without talking to them and observing them. So we want to define the range of stakeholders and your primary users. We want to perform observations and interviews to thoroughly understand them. Identify the needs of users based on their current experience. Where are they having issues? This grounds your future designs in empathy, deep empathy for users. We focus on the user motivations and goals. What are they trying to do? Not just what they're doing. What are they trying to achieve? Insights gained from understanding users are used to explore and develop meaningful experiences for your users. So I mentioned earlier about the stakeholder map. The stakeholder map identifies stakeholders, their expectations, and their relationships. Brian, I think this is going over to you for our first video.
Cool. Let me share my screen. The
Yes.
obligatory, can you see my screen?
Yes.
We'll
Alright.
cover a key method in our framework called the stakeholder map. Hi, I'm Jay Shu, and I'm on the UX design strategy team at Sabre. In my 25 years of consulting experience, I can tell you that many key issues are not with the user. Sabre Design Strategy is a critical thinking framework used to translate human needs into new products, services, and experiences. The framework enables Sabre to create transformational products and services, accelerate time from concept to launch, and quickly validate ideas with customers. In this segment, we'll cover a key method in our framework called the stakeholder map. Hi, I'm Jay Shu, and I'm on the UX design strategy team at Sabre. In my 25 years of consulting experience, I can tell you that many key issues are not with the user or product, they're with other stakeholders. Before anyone can get the product right, they need to understand the primary users, secondary users, influencers, as well as internal Sabre stakeholders. That's why at Sabre, the first tool we use in strategy is the stakeholder map. A stakeholder map is a visual tool that identifies the roles, relationships, and motivations of key stakeholders related to a project. It's important to understand who each of the stakeholders are within an ecosystem so that we can ensure our products will generate value for our Sabre customers. This means exploring how each of the stakeholders may influence the user, the experience, product design, and delivery. Let's examine each of the component parts of a stakeholder map. Each of the stakeholders are defined by their role, their goal, and a quote that relates to their day-to-day activities. Arrows are used to indicate the current strength of the relationship. Annotations help explain the current strength of the relationship. Key benefits of developing a stakeholder map include understanding how these relationships can uncover where the potential issues are and get the team to start thinking about how to resolve them in a way that makes sense for each stakeholder. Stakeholder mapping can be broken down into 5 to 6 steps. Step 1 is to prepare. Set aside 30 to 60 minutes. Make sure your participant team has a mix of stakeholders so there will be enough diversity of thought to understand the ecosystem they're mapping out. Finally, get your materials ready. Print a copy of the stakeholder map arrow key. Have plenty of Sharpies and Post-it notes in blue, yellow, and orange. Get 2 colors of Expo markers and have a whiteboard ready to write on. Once each person has their sticky notes in a Sharpie, the next step is to identify and define the stakeholders. Tell participants to take their blue sticky notes and work together to write down the role of each key stakeholder. Some teams might need to be reminded of what a stakeholder is so they don't go too broad or too narrow. A good approach to writing roles here is called swarming. Swarming is when everyone rapidly writes and places sticky notes at once. Encourage participants to share what they're writing to avoid duplications. Once the task is complete, have the team split into pairs and divide the sticky notes with roles on them between the participants. Working with their partner, participants will take orange sticky notes and write the main goal or motivation for each role. Have them stick these post-its on the bottom of the appropriate roles once they're done writing. Next, the pairs will take their yellow sticky notes and come up with a quote or something that a person in a role might say almost every day. Participants will place these on the bottom of the orange sticky notes. The third step is clustering. This is where participants will rejoin their team and move the post-it groupings into new clusters based on similar goals and success metrics. Make sure there's enough space to draw the relationship arrows. Using an Expo marker, draw circles around the groups and label them. Step 4 is creating and labeling relationship arrows. It's helpful to have an arrow key printed so participants can remember what each type of arrow represents. Using an Expo marker, participants will draw arrows of the appropriate style between each stakeholder. If the communication is only one way, then this is indicated by a single arrowhead. If you have time, it's recommended to annotate the arrows with a different colored marker. Annotating each of these arrows will give you further insights as to why the current level of communication exists between stakeholders. If time allows, you can develop a communication plan. This is done by making use of the communication grid. Information on this can be found by visiting our website or reaching out to a member of the design strategy team. Step 5. Capture insights. Discuss the stakeholder map as a team and use pink sticky notes to capture themes, major pain points, or insights that are revealed. As a team, decide on the top 3 insights